Genesis 6:2. Now, so we've already been through 6:1 through 4, but let's just focus on 6:2 for a second. It says, the sons of God, the angels, the Bene Elohim, saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. Okay, this is important because look what Jesus is telling us in Matthew 24:37-38. He says, for as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they are eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage. I want to pay attention to that. Who was the one that was marrying and giving in marriage? When we see this in the days of Noah, it was the sons of God and the daughters of man that were getting married. So, is this happening today? Well, let's unpack it, okay? So what happens, or what was the tradition, should I say, when someone would get married? First off, we still see this in weddings today. The father's the one that gives the daughter away, right? He walks her down the aisle, he gives her away. This would have been the same exact thing that was going on. This is why they saw that the daughters of man were attractive. So the men in Genesis would have been giving away their daughters. Now, they wouldn't have just given away. When the tradition was there would have been a dowry fee. They would have came to them with an offering. All through Jewish history, this is what I can offer you. Sometimes it's, I'm going to live here and work for you for the next year or two, whatever. I mean, we've seen Jacob work, for 20 years or something like that before he finally got to take his two wives home. 14. So I mean, this is the tradition that takes place. So today, it would have been no different, I guess, in Genesis. I should say not today, but in Genesis, it would have been no different for when these angels would have showed up on the scene wanting these daughters of man. They would have offered some sort of a dowry fee, and that dowry fee, which we will see here in a little bit, was in the form of technology. And so that's what they gave to man, was knowledge. Isn't man always chasing down knowledge? Isn't that what caused the original sin in the garden, was a trade-off for knowledge? Are we not still in a society and time where that's what we are chasing down is knowledge? Yes, this is what's going on with these men of renown. They are the ones putting out knowledge, chasing down knowledge. So, do we see this today? Do we see the marrying and giving in marriage between these sons of God and these daughters of man? And we do, and let me explain. Is anyone familiar with what's known as the alien agenda? Anyone heard this? Like, this shouldn't even be news anymore. They've been releasing declassified documents and things like that that have been verifying things that have been going on for decades. But the reality of it is, when we recognize that there's nothing new under the sun, these aliens are not aliens. They are the Bene Elohim. They are the sons of God. They've just been given a different name. This is important to understand this, okay? So there are a number of documents, again, that have been released, and we are familiar with things like, we've heard of Roswell, yes? Everyone knows about Roswell? Back in the 47, there was a big balloon crash, right? That they built an entire military base around. That makes sense, right? A weather balloon. Yeah. No, it was an actual crash site of one of these fallen angels, alien spaceships. They recovered it. They recovered a body, an extraterrestrial body. An angel would be an extraterrestrial, meaning not of this world. Okay? This was the beginning of something, because there was a ramp up of sightings and stuff that began after that, and the government formed an organization by the name of the MJ-12 or Majestic 12, and this was their whole purpose and point, was to go around to wherever these sightings appeared. If there was crashes or anything like that, they were to show up. They were to collect whatever was there, interview the people, and then to do whatever they could to discount it, to sweep it under the rug, to cover it up, to hide it, and to classify anything that they found. So this right here, the MJ-12, the Majestic 12, they are actually what our modern day movie Men in Black is actually based on. Now obviously the Men in Black takes place in a more modern time, but that's exactly what was going on. The Men in Black were showing up, the Majestic 12 or the Men in Black, they're showing up and they were sweeping these things under the rug. So this is just the beginning of it. There's also been reports and documentations and things like that of Eisenhower meeting with these, what we reference as Greys, with these Nephilim, or not Nephilim, but the sons of angels, sons of God, these fallen angels. He's meeting with them. And this is also a time when there was a massive increase in technology. There's a lot going on there. And so the report is saying that there was a trade-off as the fathers of daughters, the fathers of the nation, were trading off for our daughters for advancement in technology. This is where a lot of jet propulsions and modern, like they would reverse engineer stuff, and they were giving away this knowledge and technology and things like microwave ovens, all this kind of stuff. This is when it was birthed way before it came onto the marketplace. So these are the things that were traded off, and what they would do is the fallen angels, the aliens, would go and do abductions. Now, this is something else that's been released in some of these files, but there were, and I don't know if it was the MJ-12 or if it was a separate organization, but they would go around to where these abductions were reported or reportedly taking place, and they would interview the suspects. Now, some of them were probably just people ate some moldy bread and nothing really happened. I don't know. But what they did find is that a number of them were verifiable, or they weren't able to discount it. And so they collected this data. And what they were seeing is that what was around a lot of these reports is that people were reporting losing track of time. Well, I was here and it was Sunday. I'm still here now. I don't remember anything, and it's Friday. So there's like days missing. They're in the same place. They don't know what happened. Or I went to bed, and when I woke up, I'm 800 miles away in a cornfield. So these are the kind of things that were happening, and they'd have no recollection of it. So these people collecting this data would show up and interview these people, only to find out through hypnosis, which I don't recommend anybody do hypnosis, but they would do hypnosis on these people, and these people were giving shockingly a very similar story. And what's ironic is they don't know each other. They don't even have necessarily memory of it, what's going on. And so what they were sharing was that they would be abducted and taken onto these crafts, and during these times on these crafts, they were having their what's it called? Come on, help me out. Like their uteruses, their sex organs, that they were examining, that they were focused on these parts, and they were doing DNA samples or whatever. And there were some that even reported having children planted in them, like they were impregnated, like test tube style or something like that. And they had no memory of it. This is what's come out in the hypnosis. And what was really crazy about it is that there was an actual woman that went and realized she was pregnant, went to the doctor, had ultrasounds, blood tests verifying that she was pregnant, and then 3 months later discovers she's no longer pregnant. There's no sign of a miscarriage or anything like that. And through the hypnosis, they learned that she was implanted with this, and then 3 months later, it was withdrawn from her. So, some may be thinking, dude, this dude is off his rocker, he's talking about a bunch of conspiracy theory stuff, and I'm not talking about conspiracy theory stuff because the stuff has been released. There are since this new president's come in, and I'm not tooting his horn at all, but since he's come out, he's put so much stuff out there, classified documents, but you have to go through it or be connected with people that are going through it to get the verification to see what's been classified in there. The abduction thing is not a new thing. This is not a new phenomenon. There was actually a movie in the 80s that came out, Fire in the Sky, was based on a true story. If you hadn't seen that, but there was some lumberjacks up in the mountains, and it was sunset or whatever. They were getting ready to come back, and they see something in the sky. They don't know what it is, spacecraft, whatever you want to call it. One guy gets out of the truck, goes to it, gets pulled away in one way, shape, or form or something. These guys flip out. They lose it. They take off. They're racing down the mountain. They don't want nothing to do with this, right? They take off. Well, they eventually end up, not long after that, going and reporting this to the police. Of course, the police think they're nuts and they're crazy. They go up there to investigate the site. They don't see nothing. They can't find any evidence or signs of his friend or anything like that, of their friend. So they then begin to question them to see if they had some sort of grudge against them, like there was some sort of a conspiracy to murder the guy. Because there's no sign of them or anything like this. And of course they didn't do that, and they're all saying no they didn't. They even took lie detector tests and all that sort of stuff, even though it's not submissible, and they passed the lie detector test, only for 5 days later for the guy to show up and this dude is traumatized. And they give a bit of the documentation of the story as far as what took place, and obviously that's a Hollywood rendition of what happened, but it's a real story, something that took place in a small town. It's just one example. So, are we seeing marrying and giving in marriage? And in that sense, we are. And so why do I even bring up something as radical as aliens and the alien agenda? Because this is what's about to be released on us as a society, as a culture. Don't forget the drones that were just flying and sighted all around the country a year and a half ago. How quick we are to forget. Sure, maybe that was some sort of other nation's technology. Maybe it was alien. I don't know. Could be a combination of both. It doesn't much matter. The point I'm making is that you need to be aware of this, because what they're going to do when they roll this out is try to get you to believe that, no, they're here to help us. They're going to give us technology. They're going to help us with sicknesses and diseases and things like that. They're here to help us. And what they're doing is they're beginning to roll out the beast system so that you'll come into agreement with this. Understand, the Vatican is already aligning themselves for this as well. We mentioned this just a few weeks back, how they're built, coming together with these other world religions to have a temple complex of worship for more than one place, and in order for the Pope to do that, he has to deny the one, at least one main verse, which is that the only way to the Father is through Jesus. So he's got to renounce that in order to even come into agreement with these other. But not only that, they even said, 20 years ago or something, that they believe that it is likely impossible that there would be life form out there besides what's on planet Earth. So they're already, and even they say that they would need salvation too. Now, there's been whistleblowers out there that have been talking about this. There's been contractors that work for the government that have a high level of clearance that became whistleblowers, where they would talk about, they would go down into these underground facilities, caverns and stuff like that, and that there would be these otherworldly beings, these angels, these aliens, but they were instructed when they went down there not to use the name Jesus, even as a cuss word, because they recognize this created a problem for them. There's been other people that have had these things show up that were potentially going to be abducted. And in the process of this happening, these people begin to call on the name of Jesus, and as soon as they do, instantly these entities are gone. So the Vatican saying that, you know, they need salvation, well, they do, but it's not available to them, and they're just getting you ready for the beast system that is soon to be rolling out. So that's who was marrying and giving in marriage, and yes, we are seeing this today as it's a trade-off, even though they're trying to cover it up and getting ready to roll this agenda out, which is really part of the beast system. So be ready for that and be aware of that.